Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first podcast collaboration between Matthew Wagner and Austin St. Pierre. This is really cool to be able to do this podcast because he's my brother-in-law, actually. He is a pretty sweet guy. He's like a 7 out of 10. Just kidding. It's probably a 6. But let's just be Yeah. Yes. How are you doing, Austin?
I'm good. I had a flat tire this morning, but everything's okay now.
How'd you get a flat tire?
I don't know. There was just a hole in the tire.
You don't know?
No screw left or anything, just a hole in the tire.
Really?
Yep.
How'd you fix it?
My father-in-law graciously took care of it for me and brought it to somebody he knows.
Oh my gosh. Cool. So, what movies have you seen lately?
I just watched Searching the other day, which came out in like August 2018.
How was that?
I don't know how I missed that movie when it first came out. It doesn't make any sense because it was an excellent movie.
It was good?
Yeah, right after I watched it, I went over to YouTube and watched the reviews for it from like Chris Stuckman and Jeremy Johns. And Jeremy Johns gave it like a worth buying on Blu-ray, and Chris Stuckman gave it an A.
Yeah.
So I was like, how did I miss those reviews and the movie?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a movie that it looks good, but like the whole gimmick of the computer and everything is done through the computer, it almost seems like it's the same as found footage movies.
Yeah. It totally sets a new standard for found footage of that style.
It does?
Yes.
Okay.
Like they spent 2 years working on the graphics for every single computer image and stuff like that that showed up.
They did?
And they not only did that, but every language that the movie is made in, they changed the language of everything that shows up on screen. So they made the movie like 6 times basically.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Like when you put so much effort into your art, into your craft, and whether it's YouTube or writing or making movies or music, like I'm getting back into music, like it's like when you find something that you're passionate about, you can just do it till the cows come home.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, the guy that made it, this was his first movie. He quit his job at Google to make this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
He was
He had the
working for
idea.
Google.
Yeah, I mean, it was going to be like an 8-minute short film, and a studio came to him and was like, nope, it's going to be a feature film, and you're going to make it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool. You seem to really luck out.
yeah, yeah. So I'm sure he's definitely got a bright future in movie making.
Yeah. So a couple things that I wanted to talk about today. 2 things were on my agenda. We can obviously deviate, but firstly, Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse. We both saw it. I really liked it. You seem to like it.
Overall, like it. Uh-huh. We had somewhat different views, but still similar.
I don't know. I guess I was just so surprised at how good it was because I really wasn't expecting anything. Like I saw the trailer for it on Disney Channel. Like we were showing Reagan little TV shows and there was a trailer for it. And I literally thought it was going to be like a direct to DVD animated
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie. There's a billion of
That's
the
what
jet.
it looks like.
It does, but then
At least from the trailers. Like, the animating is excellent, but in the trailers it was like, okay. Plus, like, it was coming from the Sony, so...
yeah, there's Sony. But actually there was like then I saw the reviews for it and then I saw Chris Stuckman gave it either an A minus or an A. I think he gave it an
I
A.
think, yeah, it was an A, yeah, it was either an A or an A minus.
And it's like maybe there's something to this. And then I saw it and I was just like, whoa, that was like really good.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Yeah.
By the way, this is spoilers.
Okay, good.
It's completely spoiler filled. Like
been out long enough. Most people have seen it.
Yeah, and the same for Haunting of Hill House. But
Okay.
for as far as Spider-Verse, what didn't you like about it? Because I think you gave it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. There was a few moments where, not to necessarily knock it down a few notches because of that, but like I know it is a kids movie, but it definitely went like a little bit childish as far as like some of the jokes and stuff like that.
Really?
Again, not to say I knock it, and I don't remember any of the jokes off the top of my head, but and I didn't love the interpretation of Kingpin, which I think Chris Stuckman had a similar view with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I think it's just because I hold Vincent D'Onofrio to such high
Oh,
like
yeah.
level to reach from the Daredevil show, and I had literally
So
watched
good.
Daredevil season 3 like a few weeks before this movie. So like Kingpin's like, I probably like Kingpin more than Thanos, if not the same as Thanos, as far as like
Really?
Marvel villains go. Yeah, I think
Dang,
he's amazing.
Wow, that's a pretty. That's a good endorsement. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I see what you're saying. I just was so enthralled by the animation and the action, and it was so funny, and the soundtrack, and especially the soundtrack.
Yeah, music was great.
Honestly, when Miles, like, throughout the whole movie, you know what was also so interesting about it is actually because most Spider-Man movies are like, he gets his powers and then he just like becomes Spider-Man.
He's a hero. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Tobey Maguire, even the Andrew Garfield, he just became Spider-Man.
But he's only like learning for like a 5-minute montage. That's
yeah.
it.
But Miles, he got bit in the beginning.
He spends the whole movie trying
to
to
the
be
whole
a hero.
movie, he sucks and he's trying to get it, and he can't get his powers and he can't do it correctly, and it was like so much more powerful when he actually became Spider-Man, and they had that Danger song and that hip hop song, and it was playing throughout the whole thing, and it was when he was swinging and everything, I was like I had a smile on my face. It was so enthralling. I was like, you earned this, dude.
Yes. And like you said, even though I gave the movie like a 7 out of 10, that moment when he jumps off the skyscraper, you don't realize how important that moment is in the trailer. But like when you see it in the movie, like that's like one of the highlights of the year as far as movies go. Like that moment means so much more than the trailer conveys. And like in the trailer, it's like, oh, that's okay, that's cool. He's jumping off a building, but like that's the moment where he finally like becomes a hero and makes it his own.
Yeah, and he was actually kind of risking his life there because they said
he had no idea what was going to happen.
It was a leap of faith. He jumps off. He's falling. It's on YouTube. I've seen this scene like 30 times. Like he's falling and then he does the web thing and I'm like, yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah.
What when intro, and also all the other spider people were so cool.
Yeah.
And I love Spider Ham. The Looney Tunes
that
dude.
was where it went too far for Barbie. She was like, okay, now
really?
it's a kid's movie. Yeah.
Oh, it was hilarious.
I think it was really funny, and I really liked it because it was like it added more uniqueness to the movie. But yeah, that was the moment where Barbie was like, yep, this is a kid's movie. But I liked him. I loved the Nicolas Cage noir Spider-Man. I thought he was great. I think Nicolas Cage needs to go into voice acting now.
Remember when he like lit the match and he's like, I want to see, I try to feel something, so I let it burn down to my fingertips and I still don't feel anything. And he can't see, like, sees in black and white, so looking at the Rubik's Cube. He's like, I will decipher this.
Yes, even though I have no idea what it says.
It was really funny. And also, just a little side note about it, which you may not have caught this, but another part I really appreciated was when, in the beginning, when he got his powers and he had the spider sense, and then he was watching the very first Spider-Man, you know, the one that died? He was fighting Goblin. And Spider-Man came up to Miles and he was like, what are you doing here, kid? And then they both had the spider sense. Mm-hmm. Like, first of all, that was really cool, but also, like, because in the very beginning, the first Spider-Man was like, I am the one and only Spider-Man. So I was kind of expecting him to be like cold
The
shoulder to
mentor.
Miles.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
expecting him to cold shoulder Miles and be like not really into him, but
No.
but
Yeah.
he
Yeah. Like I'm Spider-Man. You can't be Spider-Man too.
that's what I was expecting, and I hate it when movies do that. So I was like, I hope it doesn't do that. But immediately he was like, okay, you have these powers, so we need to work together, and you need to hide. And now I'm gonna mention you. I'm like, cool.
Yeah. Just like right off the bat, like, all right, let's do this.
I mean, that may not be the most. Actually, that probably is more realistic than the cold shoulder thing.
Yeah. And I was really surprised now that you mentioned the one and only quote unquote Spider-Man. I was really surprised they actually killed him. Like, I don't remember if it was really conveyed in the trailer that Spider-Man dies, but I was like, this is a kid's movie. You can't kill Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to scar these children.
I mean, speaking of the violence, when they had the like more brutal parts, like when Kingpin killed him, he hit him, but then it did a freeze frame, and then it did like a kapow
Yeah.
sign, like in the comic books. It was almost like a comic book right on the screen, which was really cool. But
Yeah.
the more brutal violence was like freeze framed and more
Yeah.
implied. I thought it was a cool way to get around it
Yeah.
because they wanted a PG rating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really just it was a fantastic movie. I can't.
I think Phil Lord and Chris Miller were perfect for it. And as much as I do enjoy Solo, a Star Wars story, I definitely think Disney missed out on using them and what story they would have told for it.
Yeah.
I don't think they fully regret it because I do think I mean, Ron Howard's an excellent director. He makes great movies. I think he did a really good job considering the situation that he was stuck in when he was brought in. And in the end, we still got another great Star Wars movie. But I am curious as to like what that would have looked like if they had stuck around for the whole thing.
Phil Lord and Chris Miller, when they were doing Solo, I really do wonder what their movie would have been like for Solo. I really liked Solo, actually. I liked it a lot more than it's going to sound weird, but I liked it more than Rogue One, actually. I really did.
Yeah, I've only seen I've seen Rogue One like 3 or 4 times. I've only seen Solo once, so I'd have to see Solo maybe another time or two before I gave a verdict on that.
I've seen Rogue One 3 times, and I honestly I can't get attached to the characters. I just don't care who they are. I don't even. It's just like.
Yeah. Well, because the majority of them aren't like in the rest of Star Wars, where like at least part of the characters in Solo are, synonymous with the whole franchise.
But I don't think it's that though, because I didn't know Rey or Finn or Kylo, but I really connected with them immediately. So I just, I mean, I don't even remember their names, dude. Like I remember Jyn Erso and the droid K2SO, but I do not remember the villain's name. I don't remember any of the other people's names.
Yeah, it's them, Cassio, and then the blind guy and his friend.
Okay.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's how I remembered. I'm like, oh yeah, the blind guy and his friend.
No,
their names those names escape me.
I know. It's weird how I just.
And I love the movie. I really enjoy the movie, especially with how it connects to A New Hope. I think it's like the perfect ending because like the movie itself is good, but like the movie's there to make you love A New Hope even more, I feel like.
I mean, I like it. I just don't love it. Like I'm just like it was good. Like I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10, honestly. I know that's kind of low, but it's just that's just how I feel about it. Like I don't even really remember the plot. Like the best parts of the movie are the Vader scenes. I'm just waiting for Vader to show up, but
for the last 2.5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, that was the best. Honestly, the best part of that movie. But anyway, like back to Solo. I think that Solo was a really fun movie, and the first time I saw it, I didn't really like it that much, but after watching it more times, I actually like it a lot more. I really like that movie. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, and I mean, the guy who played Solo, I forget his name at the moment, but like he had a huge shoes to
Alden
fill.
Alden Einrich.
Yeah, Alden Ehrenreich. He had like huge shoes to fill with that. Like it would have been nearly impossible to get that perfect, but I feel like he did a really good job and like definitely stepped up.
Definitely. Yeah. So before we move on to Hill House, we could finish with the rest of, we were talking about Spider-Man. Like, do you think that it's like the best Spider-Man movie ever?
The Raimi movies still hold into the highest regard to me personally because I grew up with those, and those were like the first exposure I had to superhero movies, and I grew up watching them all the time. So in my mind, like Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 are still like the best Spider-Man movies because a couple years ago I went back to them for the first time in like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years since I had seen them, and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how good these movies are. And like I still, even though they get a lot of hate, I enjoy the Amazing Spider-Man movies,
Yeah,
and
so
I
do I.
really like Homecoming. Homecoming's a really good one. And then I did overall enjoy the SpiderVerse one as well. I think I need to see it again to like really analyze it more, I guess. Like I was just kind of taking it all in the first time. So, I'll probably watch it again just to kind of, you know, figure it out a little more.
Yeah.
But I did really enjoy it cuz like I don't want to come off as like I hated Spider-Verse. Like I'd still give it like at least a 7 out of 10.
That is so interesting to me.
But I can be picky and I don't like giving super high scores to movies all the time.
Hello?
Are you back?
Yeah. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Yeah, I don't love getting like there's only like a select more than a handful of movies that I give like super high scores to of like 9s and 10s, but like if I give a movie a 7 out of 10, that's a pretty good score.
You know, it's honestly,
I feel like on average I'll give like a 7 or 8 out of 10 if it was a good movie and I enjoyed it.
that's kind of the same for me though. Like, I can like count the number of movies that I've given 10s. Here it is. For me, it's like a 6 out of 10 is a positive rating for me.
Yeah, same here.
A 7 is good. An 8 is like really good. But to get for a 9 out of 10 has to be rewatchable,
Yeah.
and I have to discover new things about it. And a 10 out of 10 is just the greatest, best ever.
Yeah, like personally for me, a 6 out of 10 is still good, and I'd say 5 is when I start like feeling negative towards a movie, and not necessarily saying like the movie as a whole is bad, but like if I give a movie a 5 out of 10, it's like, yeah, it was okay, it kind of entertained me, but there was a lot of things wrong with it.
Yeah.
So like even with a 5 out of 10, it was still a decent movie, I guess you could say, but like it wasn't enough that I was like, that was a good movie.
Yeah.
So even if I give a 6 out of 10, it's like 6 out of 10 is still a good movie.
Yeah.
In my book.
So, on to the topic of the day. Were you apprehensive about watching Haunting of Hill House?
Not really. It looked really interesting to me, and over the past year or so, I've been getting more into like the psychological thriller slash horror genre in general. So it was definitely something that interested me. And then all of like the word of mouth going around it of it being like terrifying and stuff like that. I was like, ooh, it'd be fun to watch something if it's actually like legit scary.
Yeah. And it was for me. Like the first episode was like so good.
Yeah, I was hooked immediately.
The
Like by the third scene, I was committed.
I don't know, like I really take notice of lighting, and it's just I just got a weird eerie sense that something wasn't right in the very first scene.
Yeah.
When remember the girls woke up, and this is the first scene in the show, and it was like I saw the bent neck lady again, and the dad comes and sits down, on the bed trying to comfort Nell, and you can see like the way that the dad is looking at her, and then you see the lighting come in, and it shows, it lights up his eyes, but like his face is dark, and then the rest of the room is eerie and dark, and it's just like something doesn't feel right about this, and this is really good, and I really liked it. And then for me, the scariest part of the first episode was excuse me, do you remember when he goes in to grab his son, and then he's like, we need to run, and then the doorknob's turning,
the doorknob starts shaking,
and they run out, and then it shows this creepy woman like hobbling around chasing after him, like, what? What the heck? And
and you're like, what the heck is going on?
It turned out to be the mom that was revealed in episode 9, but I was like, that was really creepy.
Yeah. Well, and Mike Flanagan is so creative with the way he revealed those kinds of things. Like, you watched the same scene of like a lot of scenes in the show like 4 different times throughout the whole series, and it means something different every time.
Yeah.
And that's really cool because there's something new to discover with it.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me jealous because I'm like, I want to be able to write like this. Like, I don't know how you can write something
think out of order like that.
So like, it's so out of order, but then it's so cohesive, and it just comes back together perfectly.
Yeah, because I'd be so tempted to be like, here's this amazing scene, and let me give you everything it has to offer, rather than like, here's a little snippet here, and we're not going to touch this again until like episode 3 or something like that.
Yeah. I think my least favorite episode was episode 3, the Smiling Man. I don't know why, it just didn't really do much for me, but
yeah. Well, it kind of stepped away from their story a little bit. Like, you get some background with Theo, but it kind of like stepped away from like Hill House as a character a little bit.
How many times have you seen the show? Do you just watch it once?
I've only seen it once, yeah.
I think probably the scariest, at least one of the most jolting scenes in actually something that I've seen a long time is in episode 2 when do you remember that nightmare scene? You do?
Yeah.
Where the dad like turns into a demon or something. That scared me so bad. That dude, that scene really freaked me out, because you think it's like it's just the walls are banging, and it's just, the walls are like going crazy, and the girls are scared, and then he comes in and he's like, it's okay, and then
and you're like, okay, it is okay, and then it's like, nope, no, it's not.
What is this? And then she wakes up, and I'm like, that was, that's actually the only scene that Shelby saw. And she was like, turn it off, I don't want to see this. And I'm like, okay, I'll finish it when you're in bed. But that got to her, that got to me, that freaking scene really scared me. I don't know if it got to you, but it really got me.
Yeah, there was so many times, like, these kids are so much braver than I would have been.
Oh, dude.
Like, when Theo is outside, when they first get there, I don't remember if it's in episode 2 or 3, and she hears like that noise and goes up towards the barn and ends up finding the cats in there and stuff like that. Like, she heard like those noises over there, and she's walking over to this abandoned shed, and I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hearing noises, and I'm like going the opposite direction.
Yeah. I mean, it shows that they're brave, and it's almost like they've been around these ghostly things for their whole lives. It's like, yeah, they're just gonna naturally be used to this stuff. I think probably obviously the biggest revelation was that Nell turned out to be the bent neck lady.
Yeah.
And I still don't really understand it, but it was an interesting twist. I mean, I just don't understand it. I don't know if you have a theory on it, But I don't know, how could she be two people at once, or time travel or whatever? I don't know.
I've thought a little bit about it. I feel like it has to do with like after they grew up. Like I feel like when they were kids, all of this stuff like obviously not in real life really happened, but like really happened for them with all these ghosts and stuff like that. And all this stuff like stuck with them in their minds and just like haunts them to this day of like the bowler hat guy and like I feel like he probably wasn't actually there. The bowler hat guy. I feel like it was all in his head, where like the house itself is haunted, and there's all these ghosts and stuff like that in it. But like the memories that the children have as they've grown up have stuck with them, and it makes it real for them as adults. And I feel like it's a lot of it has to do with like just psychological torment and I don't know if PTSD is really the right word for it, but you know, something along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That was just a really interesting twist, and it's a really good show.
Yeah, and I think it was amazing how like not only was like there are all these ghosts and stuff like that that haunted them and scared them as children, but like who they are as adults and stuff like that. Like there's still like so much like their problems are just as terrifying as what happened to them as kids of like all the scars that they have from when they were growing up and everything that happened in that house and like who they are because of those things. Like it's so as you feel bad saying it, but it's like it's so like cool to see like how those things affected them long term. Like when I first started the show, I thought every time I saw the adults come on and they do scenes with them, that I'd be like, oh come on, let's just get back to the scary stuff with the kids. But like who they are as adults is so interesting that like I was just as happy exploring how they are as adults as I was seeing how scared they got as kids and stuff like that.
Yeah. The entire show is so well written, and dude, I've seen episode 6 like 5 times. That's the one shot episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I watched, if I've not seen the whole episode multiple times, I've seen like at least like the big chunks of it because it's just like mind blowing.
I don't know how, like, do you know how much work it takes to set all that up?
And you watch the behind the scenes and they're like, yeah, we're all just sitting here like, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up.
Yeah. It was crazy, like,
yeah.
And it was so sad too, though, because at the end it showed Nell, and she was like, you know, I was right here the whole time, and none of you guys like paid attention to me, or something like that. I can't remember what she said, but I was like, dude, that's really sad. And
yeah, and I think the coolest thing with that episode is like, not only is it a huge technological achievement, but it like 100% works and makes the episode that much better. Like it really drives home the story that Mike Flanagan was trying to tell with that episode.
Yeah. Especially,
and like, you know, the back and forth of, you know, because like they even swap when they were like the timelines of like when they were young and when they were old, like within that shot still, and I think that's incredible.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Remember when the dad first walked in and he sees them as kids, and it does a 360 around,
and then the camera just pans around and then keeps switching
and then
out.
they're adults. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then and then it's not, and then the dad sees Nell in the coffin, and he sees her as a little girl, and then it looks away for a couple minutes, and then it looks back and she's an adult. I'm like, how do they... Dude, that's crazy.
How do you coordinate all that?
That's really cool stuff to be able to do that.
Yeah. There's so many things, like, especially in episode 6, but there's just so many things throughout this show that just make it so special.
Also that episode 8, remember that jump scare in the car? Ooh, that got me. That was literally like the last thing I saw coming.
Yeah.
I was like, it just came out of nowhere. Like they're
Yeah.
just arguing, and then all of a sudden, like that jump scare. I'm like, oh crap! It was like
Yeah.
11 o'clock at night, and I yelled out, and I woke Reagan up, and Shelby wasn't happy with me. But I'm like, honey, I just got really scared. Really freaks me out.
Yeah.
Is there anything you didn't like about the show?
Um, I don't think so. That's why I want to go back a second time to see if there's anything I would pick out because like I just loved like everything about it the first time I watched it. Like it took me a few minutes to truly, well, more than a few minutes, like, watching some reviews and stuff like that after I finished the show to really like fully comprehend and understand the ending because I feel like it's not super straightforward, but it's not confusing at the same time. Like if you're paying enough attention, you can figure it out, but like being able to like reflect on it afterwards brings like new weight to it, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what Mike Flanagan does next. I
Mhm.
think he's a really good director, especially after watching Hush.
Yeah.
I was like, this dude's really good. And
Yeah, like he knows what he's doing.
because even for like miniseries, a director stays on for like the first episode, but he
Yeah,
did
and
he
then they
did
hand
all
it
of them.
off.
He did all 10.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's rare, like to see something like
Do
that.
you think he'll do another season?
I don't know. I was going to ask you that because there's been rumors. Like, would you want a second season, or are you happy with start to finish what it was?
Part of me would like a second season, but I feel like they kind of ended it, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they ended it, but like, there's theories about how like they're still in the red room and stuff like that. So I don't know if those are like Easter eggs that Mike Flanagan just dropped out there to mess with people who are really into it. I feel like I'd be happy if this was it. If I had to like pick one way or another, I'd be happy with the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's also like it's such a good show, and he can, if
Mhm.
he wants to, he can do more of them, and they can be just as good.
Mhm.
So I guess we'll have to wait and see about that.
Yeah. Have you heard about the theories for like they're still in the room and stuff like that?
No.
There's this one theory because like the last scene is when they're celebrating um, the being clean for 2 years or something like that, and they said like anytime like red is in like a primary symbol object in a scene, then they're in the red room. And people think they're still in the red room trapped in there because his cake was red. And there was like I don't remember if it was like a photo frame or a window or something like that in the back wall, like exactly where it was in the red room, the red door room. So there's theories like that think like they're still actually trapped in there and don't realize it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, which that's why I want to go back to be like, how true could that be? Because like I feel like it was pretty clear they stopped everything.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's I give the show an 8 out of 10. Um
Hmm.
I will say episode 10, the final episode, it went like 100% emotional, and it didn't really
Hmm.
have many scares.
Yeah, because they were trying to wrap up the whole story and stuff.
Yeah. It's actually more of a drama show than a horror show.
Yeah, that's what I tried to tell Barbie to get her to watch it, but it wasn't
Dude,
convincing enough.
I wouldn't show her that show.
Yeah,
It's freaky.
I'd say it's like 60 or 70% drama and 30 or 40% horror.
But the drama
But
is
like
the
the
horror.
drama is like, yeah, the drama is the horror at the same time.
I don't know. You try to get Barbie to watch it?
Yeah, we got 5 minutes into the first episode and that was it. Like, we didn't get past the opening title sequence because
Really?
there was the one scene where they wake up and then the one ghost like comes into focus right over right over Nell as she's going back to sleep, and Barbie's like, "Nope, I'm done."
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a creepy show.
Yeah, it is. Like, it was one of those things that, like, because there was a couple episodes where I watched, like, in pieces. I didn't have enough time to, like, sit down and watch a whole episode at a time for a couple of them. So, like, there's sometimes where, like, I get to watch a 10, 15-minute portion, then I had to stop it, and I'm, like, just sitting there, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Like, it's just sticking with me of, like, the creepiness of it.
Dude, yeah.
But, like, from frame one, you just feel it.
I mean, the last two episodes, I had to go to work the next day, and I'm like, I can't wait to get home and finish these episodes.
Yeah.
I can't wait to finish the show because it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched part of one of the earlier episodes before church one morning, like at church. Like, I was waiting at church and I was like the only one there, and I was like, should I feel bad about watching a show like this in church? I was like, but it's so
That's
good.
funny.
And there's like so much to learn from it too. Like, yeah, there's all the cool scares and stuff like that, but like there's so much to learn of like just life lessons from the family when they're like adults and stuff like that, about like just bitterness and forgiveness and stuff like that. Like, every moment when they were adults, they were like so close. They were right on the edge of just like forgiveness, but there was just that bitterness that they just couldn't get over, and they were always like one step away from being happy, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you're just like watching and you're like, if only you knew.
Yeah.
Like, if you only you had this hindsight or something like that, or you're looking at it from an outside perspective. But everyone was so like centrally focused and not thinking about like the other person and those feelings and that they would have. And it was like, but like that's so cool just to be able to like look at it from that outside perspective and be like, be able to realize those things.
Yeah, so I think I gotta cut it short here. But
That's fine.
But yeah,
We got to talk about a good bit.
it's a really good show. And
Yeah. It's a show you could talk for hours on.
yeah.
And I could go on longer, especially if I had seen it more recently, but I haven't seen it since I first watched it, so it's been a few months. But it's definitely a show like I'll go back to once a year, like right around, Halloween, when it's that kind of time of year and whatnot, to check it out again.
Did you see Halloween yet?
No, I haven't. I want to see the old one first, the original.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
definitely cheesy, but it actually has some really genuinely creepy parts, and it's
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah, I want to go back to the original and then I'll watch the new one
Yeah.
eventually.
Don't watch any of the sequels because they're not relevant.
because I know at this one they knocked out all the sequels and it was just a direct sequel of the original.
Yeah. 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, 78 in 2018. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and me and my friend and Shelby watched the original Halloween, and Shelby was like, I was going downstairs and I was expecting to see Michael Myers in my window. I'm like, what? And she goes, he's a creepy character. Yeah, it's the new one was really good. There were definitely a couple parts where I'm like, that's stupid, but other than that, it's
So you probably gave it between a 7 and an 8 out of 10, maybe.
probably a 7.5.
Yeah.
That's probably a fair rating for it. Yeah. So that's Halloween. I totally recommend you check that out.
I will. I think the new one just came out, so now I just got to figure out somewhere to stream the old one or something.
It just came out on Blu-ray?
I think so. Either that or digital, the new Halloween.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
So once I can get my hands on the original somehow, I'll probably like Redbox the new one or something.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I'm gonna end it here. There's just our first one. There's many more to come.
First of many.
But
Yeah.
yeah, thanks Austin for being on, and I'll put a link to your channel in the description.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And thanks, everyone. And we will see you guys next time.
See you later.